And here they come. Crew 10 and McLean on the right and to the left. Nichole, Ayers making their way into their Dragon spacecraft endurance.
Ignition and liftoff. Vehicle pitching downrange. Main engine cut off.
Station operations confirmed.
Copy, you out.
I actually grew up in Colorado Springs through middle school and then went to Woodland Park High School. We moved up into Divide, so I kind of consider like Colorado my home. I always had an affinity for the sky and for space. I used to drag my family out in the middle of the night to like way out east of the Springs so to get away from the city lights to see the meteor showers and things like that. So grew up in the shuttle era. Knew that you could fly the shuttle as a young kid and decided like that's what I want to do. And then watching the Thunderbirds fly over every year seemed like a really natural way to get to NASA, and so kind of very serious little kid that set my goals really high and just started working towards it. As I continued to like branch out and learn more about the world and figure out where I wanted to fit into this world, the Academy just naturally more and more made sense to me. The pilot is a great career to fall back on if you can't get to NASA, right? And I loved flying. I had to grieve leaving the F-22 community and leaving that life behind a little bit, but it was always just a stepping stone to NASA. But I would have been really happy in the job if I had not gotten this job, so I loved it. Sitting in that seat is one of those formidable moments in my life, I think. You're sitting on top of hundreds of thousands of pounds of fuel, over 1 million pounds of thrust. And actually sitting in that seat felt a lot like a simulator. The training is so great that it feels like a sim. You can hear the valves moving, you can hear the propellant being loaded, the rocket is alive, the capsule is alive, and it's very different. Doing an afterburner takeoff in the F-22, you get set back in your seat pretty well, but like there's a lot of thrust there. And it was basically that for 9 minutes straight. I felt like we got slingshotted off the Earth. It was quite the ride. So Ann McLean was the commander of Crew 10, and then I was the pilot. We had Takuya Onishi, who was our mission specialist 1, and then when we got to the space station, he was actually the commander of the space station for our stint there. And then we had Kirill Peskov, who's a Russian cosmonaut that flew with us, and so when we got on board, then he obviously went and worked on the Russian segment for most of his time there. On space station, we all do the same job. It's actually fascinating, right? We hire pilots, doctors, engineers, scientists, and we're all flight engineers on the space station. We all do the same science, the same maintenance, we all get the same training. It's actually pretty cool. We spent 5 months total up there. We had a couple cargo vehicles come and go. We did a spacewalk. We did a ton of science. It was a great mission. So we launched in March, and then we had SpaceX 32 come up, which was the cargo mission. Cargo missions are a lot of fun. It's a lot of moving parts. You bring a moving truck to your house, and you have to figure out how to get a whole moving truck's worth of stuff into a house that's already full, and then move things around and then reload it. But it also brings a lot of science, and so we executed quite a bit of science experiments there. We did hundreds of hours of science over the 5 months that we were there. I feel like my mission was fulfilling. The best 5 months of my life, the most fulfilling 5 months of my life. We do, like we talked about, a lot of science, and for us, that science experiment shows up as like an hour chunk on your schedule, and you just go execute a procedure. You're working with the ground, and that scientist is often watching as you perform their science. And for me, that is somebody's life work. They spent their entire life getting that science experiment on board. It's only an hour of my day, but it's one of those things. I felt a huge sense of duty and honor to work on somebody's life work and try to do the best that I can for them. And all of those things that we work on have such a huge impact on our life here on Earth, on our ability to explore and get further, onto the moon and onto Mars eventually. And so, we have such a small piece, but I think that the legacy is just adding a small chunk to our ability to get to the moon and Mars and to enhance humanity. We explore for the benefit of all, and it's good enough for me. My definition of success was just to put everything I had into everything that I did, working hard and controlling the things that I could control. So, at the Academy, it was how much I studied, how prepared I was when I showed up for a test, how much I put into every practice at on the volleyball court and leaving everything on the court for every game. In pilot training, it was controlling the things I can control, so I'm going to show up with having studied as much as I possibly can, but I can't control the weather, I can't control other people, right? But I can control how I show up and my attitude and my mental capacity for it. I work hard, I try to be a good team player, I control what I can control, and then everything else kind of falls in place. And I love to say that to little kids too, right? Work hard, be a good team player, you can get anywhere you want to be, and it's kind of how I live my life, and that's how I define success, I think. The Academy sets you up really well for life. Whether that's professional or personal, you learn a lot about yourself here at the Academy. You learn how to be part of a team and take care of other people. You learn how to push through the tough moments, even when you don't feel ready, or you're a little scared, or you have a little self-doubt. You learn how to take each step and keep moving forward. And those are some of the major skills that I learned here that I took forward into my professional career, and it's worked out really well for me. I am proud to represent the Air Force. I'm a pilot by trade, and I will always be a pilot. And like I said, I loved that job, and I loved serving our nation in that manner. And I love what I do now, but yeah, being Air Force is a really important part of me.